Tyrone Bowman Live. Welcome to the program on this morning. Welcome to the conversation as we're getting started. I'd like to say that for those of you who have subscribed to this channel, thank you for subscribing. Really appreciate it. And if you'd like to donate to this channel, I'll put the Cash App symbol up at the end of the program. Now let's get down to this morning's conversation. Straight talk. Lessons learned from the politics of divide and conquer. The only way that you can conquer your enemy is to separate them, to divide them. And this is what has taken place during this political season. Divide and conquer. How did it work? Well, let's examine some of the things that were said and some of the things that were done. First, attack your enemy or your so-called enemy. Find everything negative about them and begin to exaggerate it. Blow it out of proportion. Make it appear to be larger than life. Get them emotionally charged up. That way, they can't think. And then the culprit of divide and conquer appears to try to be a peacemaker in the end because they got what they wanted. No, it's still the same slimy trickery that has always been happening. Don't you know that the lessons from the Greek mythology tell about the city of Troy? The city of Troy had fortified walls that their enemies could not penetrate. And because they could not penetrate the walls, they had to find a clever, deceitful way to conquer the king of Troy. What did his enemies do? A so-called fake peace treaty, and offered them a gift in exchange. The gift was in the form of a Trojan horse. But what the king did not realize is that inside that big, gigantic horse, it was the army of his enemy. So in the midst of drunkenness, debauchery, and orgies, then when individuals, like they do in today's society, once all the fun and the joviality is over, what do? The enemy came out and eviscerated and destroyed and conquered. That's what's happening right now. A Trojan horse is being presented before the world in the form of so-called peace. But in actuality, it is not peace. It's divisiveness. It's destruction. It's annihilation. It's called divide and conquer. In order to conquer your enemy, you first have to get inside their head. You've seen it during the days of when boxing was really boxing. The late, great Muhammad Ali, who called himself the greatest, he would psychologically outwit his opponents because some of his opponents were much more bigger than him. And he knew he could not physically beat them, so he would get inside their mind. And as a result of getting inside their mind, get them discombobulated. By the time he finished just saying all types of things, he was a mastermind at, a genius. He invented something called rope-a-dope. Yes, it was during the heyday when George Foreman was a heavyweight champion. And Muhammad Ali wanted to defeat George Foreman. He did it with Sonny Liston and so many others. By the time they would get into the boxing ring, they would be so upset emotionally until they couldn't think. They forgot about their training. They forgot about all the things that they were supposed to do. And that's how he was able to defeat many of his opponents. You and I must realize that in order to conquer somebody, I'm trying to teach you something this morning. In order to conquer somebody, you have to get inside their mind. And once you get inside their mind, and their mind begins to become intertwined with the verbiage and the garbage and the trash that they have said or saying about you through social media, online, through the internet, through television and radio ads, then they got you. But when you learn to stay on point, when you learn to be uncompromising, when you learn to get rid of all the fakery and all the showbiz aspect of it, When you get down to the real nitty gritty and get down to business, your enemies cannot conquer you. So, what lessons should be learned from the politics of divide and conquer? Democrats, get your house in order. Learn how to strategize. Learn how to organize. Learn how to get a message that's central and on point. Learn how to target those who you say you care about and actually do what you say what you're going to do. And don't be moved by your enemies. Lessons learned from the politics of divide and conquer. Never underestimate your enemy. Know your enemy like you know yourself. Know everything about your enemy. One of the strategics that prosecutors use in the court of law, they learn every a weak part of a so-called defendant, and then they begin to exploit it and exaggerate it to the point that once defense counsel is caught off guard, the no, the surprise or the element of surprise begins to come out in the court of law because defense counsel didn't take the time to know what the prosecution was up to. You know, there's something called discovery. The prosecutors, the district attorneys must turn over to the defense everything that they have about the upcoming trial. What lessons have we learned from the politics of divide and conquer? Understand that when people have an agenda and they want that agenda to go forward, and that's all they care about is protecting a certain elitist group of men and women, it's upon them to make the incumbent president to look like a fool, look like an idiot, debase him, talk about him, and all the things that were said about President Biden. Now, guess what? Trump is an old man. He will soon be 80 years old. So, what about the senility? What about the dementia? What about all these things that they say Biden has? They don't want to talk about them now. Democrats, you better wake the heck up and you better get your act together. Because if you want to win the White House back in 2028, you better come forth with a candidate that knows how to win. And you don't abandon your candidate in midstream. And as for the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, stop being so quick to get along with those who sought to destroy you. You were put there for a reason. Learn to fight for your people. Learn to protect the interests of your people. Because that's what other politicians do. When they ascend into office, they reward their friends and they punish their enemies. So why would you be so eager to get along with your political enemy when you already know that your enemy has the advantage over you? So you have to psychologically outwit them, quote unquote, day one. Learn to outwit them. Find out their weaknesses and exploit them and use them against them. Allow them to bloviate. Let them glee. Let them have their parade. Let them have their celebration. Let them proclaim themselves to be the greatest of all time and all that type of foolery. Allow it to happen. But meanwhile, you stay on point. Stay on course. Stay determined. Learn from the past. Come back bigger. Come back better. And come back stronger. Come back wiser. Come back more defiant. See, if I were a politician, I would destroy my political enemy. I'm not having no mercy on you. I'm not here to get along with you. You are not my friend. I am your enemy, and you're my enemy. If I'm going to debate you, we're not shaking hands. I'm going for the jugular from the very first question. There'll be no apologies. We're not taking any prisoners. I'm out to win. And in order to win an election, I can't be mamsy-pamsy. I cannot sit back and be weak and pathetic. I have to be strong, invincible, yet determined to win. Lessons learned from the politics of divide and conquer. What do the rich do? The rich want to remain rich and get richer. So they exploit, put the rich against the poor, the black against the white, the Mexicans against the Chinese against etc., etc. So you got all these races fighting with one another. while they're someplace laughing and drinking and smoking and yakking it up because they think they've won. Flip the script. Come back. Midterm elections are coming up. What you going to do for the midterm elections? You all have an opportunity to win back the House. You better win it. Stop playing around, because this guy that's about to come into office, his 2025 project, this agenda that all his cronies in them are put together, it's the same old stuff. The same old people, same old players, all coming back together, so-called billionaires club, trying to run the nation, making sure that the average person can't get ahead. But you know what you should have? Innovation of thought, innovation of mind power. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Your mind is your greatest asset. Your mind is your greatest potential in this life. I'm not concerned about a turkey and stuffing and all this other kind of stuff. I'm concerned about economic survival. I'm concerned about financial stability. I'm concerned about political leverage. What are you concerned about? I'm concerned about educational advancement. And in today's society, wisdom is power. Knowledge is knowing, but wisdom is power, knowing what to do, when to do, and how to do it. It's time to get the job done. It's time to wake up. It's time to move forward. Stop licking your wounds. Stop being afraid to come before the cameras. Hey, it's over. The election is done. The man's going to be inaugurated, etc., etc. Kudos. They won. That's the end of it. Now it's time to move on. Let them have their joviality. Let them have their party. Let them celebrate. Meanwhile, it's time to get to work. Organize, strategize, plan, regroup. Do it now while you can. Because the next time around, if you don't come out swinging, they will win again. Straight talk. Never surrender. Never quit.